given time, there are dozens of volcanoes erupting on Earth. But reports coming from the remote island of Fogo off the coast of Africa are especially alarming. A river of molten lava is advancing on one of its villages. How far will it go? The answer could be the difference between life and death for its residents. I know firsthand how volcanoes behave. I've rappelled deep into exploding fiery craters and explored, up close, many of the world's most active volcanoes. To understand what's happening in Cabo Verde, I have to go and see it for myself.
Wow!
I'm on my way to Cabo Verde, cluster of 10 volcanic islands off the coast of West Africa. Santiago is the largest of the islands. From there, I'll travel to the island of Fogo, where its namesake volcano is erupting furiously. The last eruption on Fogo happened in 1995. 1,300 people were forced to flee their homes in the middle of the night as lava flowed through their houses and blocked the only road access to the town of Portella. Will the damage be as severe this time? Reports suggest it might actually be worse. Once in Santiago, I meet up with local guide Simon Levy to get up to speed on what's happened since the volcano started erupting just one week ago.
And what are they saying about the situation?
The situation is bigger than the last eruption in 1995.
And this eruption could end tomorrow, or it could go for months.
The people there and here also is all in panic, so they don't know what will happen. So that's the problem.
Wow, there is some concern that this whole area will be filled.
Yes, because as Caldeiras, the volcano is higher. So all the small village around, down, so the lava
just goes to the lowest points and fills up.
I need to get up there for myself and see where this lava is going and provide my assessment to emergency officials. With the Fogo airport closed, I have to travel by ferry.
Sorry. Squeeze on through.
And I'm not the only one. Emergency aid workers are also making their way to the island.
Looks like we're starting to line up now. The people that are evacuating from Fogo are just getting off of the ferry now, and hopefully soon, within the hour, I'll be on the boat and on my way. Hopefully.
It's a 4-hour ferry ride from Santiago to Fogo. Our trek to the volcano starts in São Felipe, the island's main city. From here, we'll need to drive up and into the volcano's caldera, the lowlands surrounding the volcano's peak, where the village of Portella is located. So far, the lava has reached the border of the town, steamrolling entire buildings at the new border.
I've run into Patrick Barois. He's from France. He's a very, very experienced volcanophile, been all over the world. He was here in 1995 for the big eruption there, and you've written 5 books about volcanoes.
Yes,
so what was it like here during 1995?
There is big lava flow, big explosion, big lava fountain, but this eruption is not the same, because this eruption is more dramatical, because the lava flow now has destroyed the ground, the villages. It's a problem to build a house in this kind of volcano, because it is the house of the volcanoes, and the volcano decide himself what to do.
Right. People that build in there, they're basically building on the volcano's land, the volcano's property, and they're living on borrowed time by building in there.
By reaching the volcano, I'm hoping to see the lava flow's direction and get some insight as to whether or not it'll flow past Portella and into the village of Bandiera. It doesn't take long to hit roadblock number 1.
All the other alternative roads to go inside, it's completely destroyed. So that's the reason they stopped, because Portella village is completely covered with the lavas at the moment.
This is one of the villages where the people who've been evacuating from basically the destroyed towns have been setting up shop. Things are getting a little heated here. There are tents, there's food, there's water, but it's crowded. There's only one toilet for the whole facility, so some of the people are not too pleased.
The people who live here feel they're not being listened to and their needs are being ignored. They're extremely vulnerable, forced to live in the shadow of a volcano in order to take advantage of the rich soil this dangerous corner of the Earth offers. Part of Portella is already hit. Hopefully, the lava will stop before more damage is done.
So let's go to say here.
Well, let's get up to, of course, where we can.
How many lives are in danger? I've got to keep moving if I'm going to find out.
Visibility is so bad, can't see anything.
As the volcano is erupting, it's releasing carbon dioxide and sulfur dioxide into the atmosphere. While these emissions don't have a huge impact on climate change, the combination of these gases can be lethal for people, animals, and vegetation. As we head towards Portella, we drive through barren land that until recently was thriving with agriculture, an important part of Fogo's economy. Despite the dangers of growing in close proximity to the volcano, more and more people are settling here because there's nowhere else for them to scratch out a living on the island.
All right.
I've finally come face to face with what I've come here to see, the river of lava.
So this is the brand new lava flow. It's probably a couple of days old. It's not hot. It's warm. The sky is starting to clear up a little bit, so I'm kind of enthusiastic about that because I can hear the vent. The lava is erupting right now. Well, the peak of the volcano is there, above the cloud, but this eruption was not at the summit. This eruption was actually down a fissure eruption along the flanks on the side.
Volcanic fissure eruptions occur in cracks or fractures along the side of a volcano, rather than through the main cone or vent.
It's definitely still active. It's hard to hear, but it's definitely going on just behind those clouds.
Think of this lava flow as a snake.
Anything?
The tail is 1.5 miles behind us at the base of the volcano. If this is the body, where's the head? We need to get to the very front of this lava flow. Reports suggest it's in Portella.
Let's go.
But who knows what we'll find when we get there.
Fresh lava, let's go.
Lava's moving.
It's moving. That's
Each 1 hour.
Let's do it.
Three days ago, you could keep driving right to Portella. But unfortunately for us, this fast-moving river of lava passed through, leaving a wall of solid rock in its wake.
This used to be the road to the town of Portella, but for some reason, they can't use it anymore. Literally, the end of the road. A construction crew is further up the hill trying to build a new road so the town has access again, but it's going to take some time.
Giving up and turning around isn't an option. So we abandon our vehicle and hike the rest of the way. I need to get to the front of Fogo's lava flow for a sense of where it's going next.
We had to abandon the car because this road is not safe anymore to take a car onto because it could disappear very, very quickly.
Right now, we're at the base of the volcano. The molten lava is flowing from its side and traveling right into town. It's a huge threat to everyone who lives there.
I'm actually at the point where this lava flow is actually on top of the old lava flow from 1995. So you got stacked flows together.
and there's pieces tumbling down here. This whole thing is moving.
When a volcano erupts, all that lava, along with ash, rock fragments, and gases, are ejected into the atmosphere. While the gases will eventually dissipate, the volcanic material will settle and cool on the ground. Eventually, that material will break down and become young, fertile soil, containing many of the same elements found in commercial fertilizers. This can take anywhere from a decade to 100 years. Climate is the single most important factor for soil development. Tropical climates, like Cabo Verde's, help speed up this process. The volcanic soil on Fogo is perfect for harvesting vegetables, coffee beans, and wine grapes. For farmers, the benefits outweigh the risks. Finally, we've made it to Portella, or what's left of it. Until a few days ago, this whole area was covered in vineyards, producing export-quality wine. But the eruption has completely buried the most lucrative vineyards. Now, all that's left is a field of lava and a few drops of wine.
Шампунь сыты. Maneco.
So this is the last wine that was produced here. It's the very last batch. There will never be any more like this. Oh, that's very strong. That's good.
We knew the town had been hit, but nothing could have prepared us for this. And it's not close to being over.
It's almost unimaginable what's happening here. This unstoppable wall of hot rock is just steamrolling into the town of Portella. I'm up on a hill right now overlooking, and I got a really good view of how vast this lava flow is. And it just goes as far as the eye can see, and it's just pushing into the town. There is almost no chance for most of these buildings to survive.
Locals are trying to save as much as they can. They've removed doors, windows, furniture, and carried everything up the side of the hill where they pray the lava won't reach.
Ou seja, nesse momento de casa dinha, já que estou já mas completa.
So where was her house?
So the house is completely covered and everything, all stuff inside. She didn't have time to take out.
The people of Portella have not only lost their homes, they've lost their livelihoods. It's absolutely devastating.
Hard to put into words. This unstoppable lava flow it's in town right now.
This is the head of the beast I've been chasing across the island. If I want to get close enough to analyze this lava, I need my heat-resistant suit. It can protect me from temperatures of up to 2,000 degrees.
Now, what this suit does is it protects me from the radiant heat. What it does not protect me from is the actual rocks, these avalanches of lava chunks. So the lava here is actually a little bit more fluid than in the other part of town. As soon as I touch my hammer to the lava, it just immediately bursts into flames. Even with the suit, that is unbearably hot. It's burning my ears. Ow! Ow!
I'm using an infrared thermometer. Lava can reach temperatures up to 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit.
I've gone off the scale.
This lava must be hotter than the 1,000 degrees that this thermometer can read.
Off the scale. Okay, that's useless.
Evacuation of these homes began as soon as the volcano first erupted.
Oh, wow. Oh, jeez. Holy smokes.
Less than a week ago, the family who lived here was forced to evacuate in the middle of the night, taking with them whatever they could carry.
The glass is broken. The door is hot. Wow, more glass coming through. Very, very soon, this wall is going to just completely come crashing in. I don't think this lock is going to hold it for much longer. It sounds like rain or hail outside, but it's actually rocks coming in.
That was something.
I may have just avoided death by steamrolling hot lava. Even though the lava appears to be moving relatively slowly, it's actually moving at 100 feet an hour. It would take it under 3 hours to cross a football field. That's fast. In 4 days, the lava has destroyed just about everything in this town. And by the end of the week, another town will be in the lava's path.
To me, it blows my mind how we all live on this thin skin, this crust on top of the Earth. If you were to shrink the Earth down to the size of an apple, the crust that we live on would be about as thick as the skin on that apple. And everything else inside is basically this. Civilization exists because of geological permission, which is revocable at any time. I don't know how we do it. It's amazing.
It's the reason volcanoes are so closely monitored. Except poor countries don't always have the resources and latest technologies to observe them as carefully as they'd like to. This really is a world problem. While it's too late for Portella, other towns on the island are still at risk. So for now, my biggest concern is just how far this lava flow can go. And for that, I've got to get closer to the source. And I've just met a local who might be my ticket to the top.
It flies up about 600 feet and then it comes down, so it cools off on the way down. Yeah, but it's still enough instant. I mean, it goes like this. We thought the whole place was going.
How difficult is it to get there?
About 10 minutes.
So you can drive right up to a point and then walk for 10 minutes?
Yeah, I got my car right over here.
I love you.
There's tons of seismic activity.
Yeah.
This area is not stable. I mean, absolutely not. Just it's very, very, very quiet right now. But they do not know if it's going to blow or not. I'm trying to help these guys get rid of their wine, so I had a few glasses. I mean, they ain't going to be able to pump all of it up. So I'm going up there in a little while. It takes got about an hour walk back to the car.
Yeah.
But the twilight hour is the best. You'll see the smoke and the flames.
Yeah.
So it gets dark, you can only see the
if we can follow you.
Sure, no problem.
So met up with this very odd dude whose name is Vince, and he says that he can get me up to the vent. So I'm gonna trust him and follow him right now and see if we can get up there. It's starting to get dark, so we should be able to see that real incandescence coming up from the volcano. So I don't know how this is gonna work out, but stay tuned, we'll see.
Vince knows the roads of this island like the back of his hand. He usually leads fishing charters, but tonight, he's guiding us as close to the eruption as possible. Then, we'll have to hike the rest of the way. Hopefully, getting this close to the source will get me the answers I'm looking for.
Now that night has fallen, I can clearly see that there's almost continuous explosions going on the flank of the volcano. There's actually two very vigorous vents and a lava flow coming down the side. It's a little hard to see still, but that just means I have to get a bit closer.
All right, folks.
The really big lava flow, that's what's heading down into the towns. But higher up, the explosive part of the eruption, to me, it looks like there's too much lava for these explosions. So I think there's some lava tube or something below, further down the mountain, that's feeding these lava flows.
Lava tubes are formed when the top of lava flows hardens and forms a roof above it. It acts like a tunnel and drains the lava from the volcano. This may mean the threat is greater than I thought, and many more communities could be at risk, starting with the neighboring town of Banguera.
Every time there's an explosion, I can feel the shock wave and the ground shaking.
This is what's called a strombolian eruption, named after the active Stromboli volcano in Italy. It spews lava at regular intervals.
You can see these lava bombs shooting up, just hundreds and hundreds of yards up in the air and tumbling down the side. These glowing chunks of lava are being pushed out at high pressure from these expanding gases deep inside the Earth.
I've got to be careful. There have been a few close ones.
A light show like this, it's nature's fireworks. It really is the best show on Earth. However, at the same time, if you're downhill of one of these things and the lava flow is coming for your village or your house, it's hard to appreciate the beauty.
Since the volcano first erupted 10 days ago, more than 1,000 people have fled their homes. Entire communities lost under hardened lava.
Let me tell you, what a difference a day makes. Yesterday, I was inside this building as the lava flow came crashing through the door. Today, the entire building is completely destroyed by this lava flow. The good news is that it has stopped, for now. I can still hear in the distance the volcano erupting, so it could restart at any time. We don't know exactly what the future is going to hold for this town.
The economic impact is enormous. Destroyed homes, lost livelihoods, less land available for agriculture. Many of the refugees will not be coming back. But fast forward 10, 20, 30 years from now, and this land will once again offer up the nutrient-rich soil that will attract a new wave of farmers. So, despite the risk of future eruptions, the people of Fogo will eventually rebuild their communities within the caldera. It is, after all, the only option they have. Within months of leaving the island, we get word that the volcano continued to erupt, and is feared destroyed the neighboring town of Banguera. Months after the first eruption, it's not showing any signs of stopping. As global temperatures rise, the polar ice caps are disappearing at an alarming rate. As a result, more and more icebergs are showing up in the warmer waters of Canada. Tracking the growing number of icebergs is crucial, because understanding how they move and how they disintegrate is the key to understanding the melting of Arctic ice. I'll see how it's done. From above,
The waves just shooting high up into the air up against the bergs.
from below, and from the very top, an iceberg on the moon.
I'm going to place the beacon.
Melting ice is Earth's warning signal, and icebergs are sounding an alarm bell about our climate's future. Canada on the Atlantic coast, the iceberg capital of the world. Every spring, thousands of icebergs travel from the Arctic down the 1,600-mile stretch of ocean called Iceberg Alley. 1% make it as far south as St. John's.
These icebergs are really amazing. Most of them are formed off of the glaciers on western Greenland. They're born when the glaciers calve into the Davis Strait, and a lot of them end up floating south.
It's a 3-year journey from the Arctic. Circling counterclockwise around Baffin Bay, the icebergs flow into the Labrador Current, which propels them past Newfoundland and Labrador all the way down to the southern tip of the province. They arrive here every year, but their increase in numbers is an ominous indicator of what's happening to the Greenland ice sheet. It's the second largest ice sheet in the world, and it's melting fast, shrinking 47 cubic miles a year. David Barber has been studying the Arctic for 30 years.
Well, there's lots and lots of evidence all pointing in exactly the same direction, that climate change is very much alive and well in the Arctic, and it's really affecting the marine cryosphere in general.
From snow cover to ice sheets, the cryosphere is the term scientists use for frozen water on the surface of the Earth. And right now, it's in a precarious state. The melting is leading to a rise in ocean levels worldwide, a big threat to coastal communities. Warming waters are also affecting global weather patterns. And that's not all.
The melting of the Greenland ice sheet is accelerating the production of icebergs. They're massive, they're very dense, and if you're in a ship that hits one of those, it's going to cause a tremendous amount of damage.
Nowhere else in the world do icebergs intersect with major shipping lanes and fishing zones. Collisions can be deadly. It's up to the International Ice Patrol and U.S. Coast Guard to make sure that doesn't happen.
And last year was a really crazy year, apparently.
Yes, last year was the sixth most severe we've had on record since 1900. We had over 1,500 icebergs drift south.
Today, I get to see their high-tech iceberg monitoring gear in action. This year, almost 900 bergs have been spotted, and we're only halfway through the season.
On the plane here today, we've got the pilot, we've got the co-pilot, we've got someone operating the radar, and two guys, and all their job is to spot icebergs. Icebergs are an extreme hazard. Obviously, just over 100 years ago, the Titanic, probably the most famous shipwreck of all when it comes to iceberg collisions, went down not too far from here.
There have been several instances over the last couple of years where ships have deflected off of an iceberg. None of them were damaged so badly that they sank.
There have been just over 50 collisions since 1980, causing hundreds of thousands of dollars of damage. Tracking buoys with sensors are deployed from the back of the plane. They're designed to read the currents, which help determine where the icebergs are going and how fast.
I see them crashing and the waves just shooting high up into the air up against the bergs. From up here, looking down, it's really hard to tell just how big these icebergs are.
Icebergs can vary in size, from that of a small car to ones the size of Manhattan. The Ice Patrol is collecting some of the most detailed information for this area. It's entered into a database and shared internationally with climate scientists studying what happens to icebergs in warmer water.
Of course, the Arctic and Antarctic regions are the places on the planet that are most affected by climate change right now. Global temperatures there in the polar regions are about double what they have been. And as temperatures rise, the speed of the glacier will actually increase. And of course, the faster that glacier is moving, the more of that ice is going to end up in the water each year.
Melting Arctic ice disintegrates spectacularly into icebergs. The Petermann Glacier in northern Greenland caught the world's attention in 2010 when satellite images captured a 100-square-mile ice island breaking off. Just 2 years later, another one, 50 square miles, also fell away. Scientists are trying to get an idea of what will happen in the future. Brad DeYoung is a professor of oceanography at Memorial University.
What you're always looking for are the big changes, but to determine those, sometimes you have to separate out the kind of the year-to-year variability. The variability one might expect to see decade to decade, but the other is the larger scale kind of climate story.
In order to understand the rate of change, oceanographers are now studying icebergs in more detail, because the way icebergs break up down here mimics the disintegration of the ice shelves in the Arctic.
What we want to do is to make measurements on different kinds of bergs in different situations, and also we look at a particular iceberg and ask what's happening to it. And so make repeated measurements of the same iceberg, see how its shape changes,
over time,
how it's melting.
Melting ice shelves are very bad news. Ice shelves are dense floating sheets of ice at the end of a glacier, sometimes up to 3,000 feet thick. They're vital because they act as a huge doorstop, pushing against the glaciers, slowing their flow into the ocean. Without ice shelves, the glaciers would melt more rapidly into the sea, causing a rise in global sea levels. Today, I'm in Conception Bay at the southeast corner of Newfoundland. I'm taking a closer look at icebergs that have made the 1,600-mile journey from Greenland. I want to see how they travel through these waters.
If we've got changes in the environment, such as warmer waters, different currents, different wind patterns, it's going to affect how these icebergs travel through Iceberg Alley. So the mission is to get out and actually climb onto one of these icebergs and place a satellite tracking beacon on it.
I'll then be able to track it over the next few days.
Cotton! Iceberg! Get ahead! The cold and the beautiful.
Without any warning, these bergs can flip, roll over, or break apart.
Oh!
This will be a climb unlike any I've tried before.
Holy crap!
I want to get up on the berg and place a beacon on it to track its movement and melt rate.
Oh!
But it's not going to be easy.
Holy crap.
What do you think of that, George? Don't want to climb a berg?
Not that one. That's scary. What was once this towering berg is now this pile of thousands of pieces. Get this effervescent sound, all these bubbles, air bubbles coming up out of the ice that's degassing. Wow. With zero warning. Really drives home how dangerous these things can be when you're up close to them.
A bit shaken, we move to one that looks promising to climb.
That is a beautiful, beautiful iceberg. We'll do a circumnavigation. If this iceberg were to roll that way, this piece of ice would come up underneath us. Okay, Rick.
Hey.
I'm going to place the tracking beacon as high as possible, as I want to see how long this berg stays intact and how far it goes.
Okay.
Information like this helps scientists understand the breakup of icebergs.
The ice it's a little softer than I was expecting because it's all melting. All right, continuing up. There's water spray coming up, pressurized up over here. Bird feathers up here. Oh, the angle on this is perfect. It's nice and gentle. What a view. I want to go a little bit further over. I don't dare go any higher up. Too dangerous right here where I'm standing. Here's a good spot right here. All right, just putting an ice screw in right now. Whew. The wind's really picking up here.
I'm securing the beacon and tying it off with rope so it can be retrieved later.
Okay, the rope is in the water. The tracking beacon is retrievable. I'm gonna start working my way back.
Perfect. This thing has traveled probably several years down from the Greenland Glacier.
Now, let's see where it goes from here. Tracking icebergs is one way to study climate change, but I want to explore other methods that'll take me into dangerous waters. Icebergs offer valuable clues about the melting Arctic ice that spawned them. And it's not just the increase in their numbers that's concerning scientists.
It's a coupled system. You can't really look at one part of the thing without looking at all the other parts that are interconnected because they all operate with each other in a very sophisticated harmony.
Scientists are noticing that sea ice, the frozen seawater, is also melting fast and raising the temperature of the water around it.
When you think about the sea ice, we're thinking right now we're going to have a seasonally ice-free Arctic. That stuff that's left at the end of the summer will actually shrink and disappear, you know, somewhere between 2030 and 2050.
Disappear completely?
Disappear completely in summer.
That's scary.
The sea ice keeps the oceans cool because when the surface is covered in ice, it's white, so the energy from the sun is reflected back into space, keeping the Arctic cold. But when the ice melts, the heat from the sun is absorbed into the sea, causing it to warm. And when water heats up, it expands, raising sea levels. But that's not the only problem. Melting sea ice and glaciers also change the ocean's currents. In the oceans, we have what's called the thermohaline circulation, the movement of warm water from the equator northward. All that sea and glacier ice melting and mixing together is disrupting those currents.
The amount of fresh water that are coming from these things is going to change the circulation patterns of the ocean because the fresh water is very buoyant and so it tends to come to the surface and the salt water underneath it, which then affects the currents.
Scientists predict that 210,000 square miles of polar ice a decade will melt into the ocean. Changing currents will affect world weather patterns, causing more ferocious storms and extreme snowfalls. The next morning, I head back to Conception Bay. My mission today is to explore the underwater part of these bergs. The base of an iceberg is rarely ever seen, But how it deteriorates in warming water helps scientists understand future melt rates in the Arctic.
We hear the phrase tip of the iceberg all the time, meaning that there's a lot more hidden underneath.
90% of an iceberg is underwater. For the largest bergs, that can be as big as a 5-story building.
If all goes well today, I'm going to get to show you what it's like below the surface. A tricky dive, lots of variables, very cold water. So this should be really interesting.
Dive master John Olivero is an experienced iceberg diver.
There is going to be a little bit of cracking and popping. If you're concerned of any of the noises, just start swimming away. If you see anything coming down at you, away and down.
Away and down. Yeah, it's only dangerous if something goes wrong.
Yeah.
Here we go.
There's a couple of icebergs out in the bay right now, so we're going to try and find the best one to go diving on, get in the water, and actually see these things from underneath.
It can be hard for scientists to study these giant moving blocks of ice as they're so unpredictable. We need to find one that looks stable enough to dive near.
George, I like this one because if it breaks, gravity is going to take it that way. So you guys got lots of chance to swim away.
With the berg chosen, we get suited up.
What?
Johnny drops a safety buoy, but right away, there's trouble.
Wow. Move away from the berg. Okay.
We reposition further out, and I hit the water. This berg is massive, at least 100 feet deep. It's an incredible sight. The scars of erosion can be seen everywhere, including these cracks and pockmarks all over. Wind, waves, and warm sea temperatures melt away the icebergs, slowly breaking them up. In examining the rate of decline, scientists are also looking at whether or not ocean water changes the way the iceberg melts.
The deep icebergs, if they're melting at the bottom, then there's a plume of fresh water that's coming up. And so we want to look at whether the interaction of that with the ocean water changes the way the iceberg itself melts. So is the iceberg kind of influencing its own environment in a way that changes how the melting takes place?
If scientists can understand these processes, they can make more accurate predictions for the future of the ice cap. It's a real challenge diving in these conditions. Something's gone wrong, and there's much more at stake now than just our research. I'm diving under an iceberg, getting images of its erosion. But I'm having some serious trouble.
Get him out! Get him out!
Look at him!
I'm very close to being seasick. Yeah.
I have to call the dive off. The conditions were really difficult down there.
Despite all the struggles I was having underwater, it was still a sight to behold. Seeing this massive berg underwater. He who fights and runs away lives to fight another day. So I still got a lot of fight in me, but not so much more today.
After a night of rest, I join a crew on a ship looking for icebergs. But it's not for science. These 10,000-year-old ice blocks happen to contain some of the purest fresh water in the world. And the demand for it is growing.
It is very early in the morning, up at 3:30, meeting up with the iceberg cowboy, Ed Keene.
What we're going to do, he's going to push her around, then you guys just whack it out and he'll go around, right? Just take our time. We're not in no big hurry. We are, but we got to take our time.
He's an iceberg wrangler who sells iceberg water.
The water is very pure because it's ancient, tens of thousands of years old, and there's a market for it.
The crew heads out to capture a bird.
We lasso it. We take a rope in the speedboat around and tie it off, and then we use a winch to pull us tight to the iceberg.
Nobody owns the icebergs, so it's legal to catch them and break them up before they would naturally melt. But it's a dangerous job.
Yeah, you got to treat them with respect. Some big icebergs with pinnacles and overhangs on them, and just too dangerous.
Big barge like this is really difficult to maneuver, so they used a small boat to give it a bit of a nudge to get it perfectly positioned to get the machinery in there to get the ice. We needed to get the barge away from this shelf that's underwater.
If this iceberg flips right now, it'll take the barge, the motorboat, and all of us along with it. These guys have learned that lesson the hard way.
Last year we had one roll on us. It was pretty bad.
Iceberg ice has been compressed for thousands of years, so it's incredibly dense. Ed positions the cranes so the excavator can take the first bites. Iceberg ice has been locked in ancient glaciers, which formed before the industrial age, making it free of contaminants.
So right now he's dropping the ice directly into those front tanks. And then they use the grinder if they want to send it to the tanks at the back, but then shift the weight.
We force water, iceberg water from the tank in, and it flows down into the other tanks.
And how many liters of water will you gather in one season?
We're looking at probably 1.2 million or 3 this year.
These guys have been at it for about 4 or 5 hours now, and then they've put a serious dent in that chunk of ice.
By late afternoon, they wrap it up and head back to shore with their haul. It's been an adventurous week for me in Iceberg Alley. Before I head home, there's one more place I need to go. I'm going to check on the status of that iceberg I was tracking.
So it's been about 3 days since I put the transmitter on the iceberg up here at Bay de Verde, and an interesting thing has happened. We've had strong winds from the north, which, as you might expect, has pushed that iceberg to the south about halfway into Conception Bay. And last night, it stopped transmitting. The iceberg has probably broken up, and the transmitter is sitting at the bottom of the bay.
It traveled almost 15 miles in 3 days.
It really does go to show how much these things move around out here.
As icebergs continue to flow into these waters off Newfoundland, they're a mixed blessing. They offer scientists a chance to further understand the process of Arctic melting, but they're also an unmistakable warning about the dramatic decline of our ice sheets. Continuing the detailed research and sharing it worldwide will enhance our ability to combat climate change. Keeping the planet cool by just 1 to 2 degrees would help preserve this frozen world.
It's going to cost us a lot more not to do something about this problem than it is for us to do something about this problem, so let's keep our habitat so that it works for us as a species.
Scientists have spoken. Now it's time for governments and individuals to take action.